This is panel 4, building public aspirations for socioeconomic improvement through gender-based technologies. Well, if you look at the posters outside, actually I have seen 2-3 major keywords repeatedly, which is gender difference and technologies. So I believe technology is very important in the sense. Actually, this session seeks to improve socioeconomic conditions for women in the Asia-Pacific region through technology, such as by increasing income and welfare and building stronger institutions. So this session also aims to introduce and propagate the value, process, and performance of best practices in the Asia-Pacific region. Well, we have 5 distinguished speakers, except one person. Actually, one person is missing. Actually, we will have a video presentation, so I'll introduce her later. So our speakers will explore development and use of new technologies, as well as utilization of existing technologies in terms of gendered innovations, along with related case examples. I believe each speaker will have about 15 minutes presentation. Well, just let me introduce myself briefly. I'm working at Green Technology Center, which is a government institution under Ministry of Science and Technology, ICT, and Future Planning. Actually, our institution has been working on climate changes and also 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So if you look at 17 goals, especially goal 5, it says, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. When I read this part, I don't see much about technologies. So I think this session is very, very important for us to emphasize the importance in the gender issues based upon technologies. Actually, I'd like to ask our speakers to introduce themselves with the background, and then we'll continue to listen the presentations. Please, Professor Martina Schraudner.
Yes, so my name is Martina Schraudner. I'm a professor at the Technical University of Berlin. There in the engineering department, but with a professorship with a chair for gender and diversity in organizations. And I'm also working with Fraunhofer, with a research center for responsible research and innovation in Berlin. And I think, you would, okay.
Ishikawa.
Is it okay? Sorry. A professor of Tokyo University and emeritus professor of Tokyo University. My major is city and regional planning and landscape architect.
Okay, next, Dr. Im Deok-sun.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Deok-sun Im from Science and Technology Policy Institute. Currently, I'm working as the director for Korea-Ethiopia Innovation Center. Maybe you are not quite familiar with. And currently, we are working on the ODA, Official Development Assistance Program, in the area of science and technology. Thank you.
Dr. Yang Eun-kyung, please.
As I was introduced, my name is Eun-kyung Yang. I'm the director of the International Cooperation Affairs Division of KIST. I will talk about one of our project, VKIST project, later on. Thank you very much. It's very nice meeting you all.
Okay, let me just introduce Director Sushila Venkataraman. Actually, we'll have a video presentation later. So then, please, your turn.
Thank you. We heard already quite a lot about gendered innovations, about the gender knowledge which should be integrated into research. We heard about how to increase the amount of women researchers, women professors in universities. And I want to go a step further, and therefore I want to start with this definition of innovation, which is given by the OECD. And there it's written that innovation is the implementation of a new or significantly improved product, good or service or process, a new marketing method or a new organizational method in business practices, workplace, organizations, or external relations. So this addressing markets, addressing business is, I think, the next step. And when we want to have this kind of improvement we are thinking about, then we should also think about this next step. So I think about the increasing quality of research via this improved protocols of gendered innovations is a first important step. And I think this increasing of percentage of women in decision-making positions is the next really important one. I want to show some more data about that. And then I think we should look for new entrance points to enter this innovation process when we really want to address socioeconomic needs, especially of women in all parts of the world. And on the next slide, this is a picture which is quite common in the innovation business, this valley of death of ideas. So on the one hand, we have already quite a lot of knowledge, sex and gender knowledge. We have women already in higher education and in R&D, and we have highly trained women. And we also have, on the other side, women as taxpayers. We have the needs of women and men. We have women as opinion maker and consumers. But in the middle, there is quite often a deep valley. So not so many women are in this innovation practices, and I think there is a need to become more clear about that and also to integrate women in these processes here. And I wanted to describe here on the next slide that Eurobarometer still finds for all the European countries that women seems to be not interested in technical innovations. And older people also aren't interested in technical innovations. This may be true, but not always, because mobiles are used by women in the same amount, in the same way than by men. And I think this is a market which should be addressed also. But the textbooks tell us that only men, white young men, are interested in technical innovations, and therefore they are addressed as first users, and all the other are the late users or the followers. And perhaps it's helpful to go a little bit more in detail. Where are women involved in these different stages of research and commercial innovation? So what's the amount of women in funding agencies, in grant applications, women professors who are defining what kind of research questions and what kind of research areas should be answered or should be worked in? Who is doing the research and who is interpreting the results? Are women involved there? What's about the transfer of research results? Who is involved in scientific publishing and who is involved in the transfer to commercialization? I think these are important parts. So what's about the amount of patent holders and who is responsible for venture capital for startups? We have heard yesterday that women aren't interested to start up new companies. There are lots of data that they really have problems to get startup money, much more than their male colleagues. Why? And when you look at this Kickstarter crowdfunding platform, then you can find data that women will fund projects from women and men will fund projects from men. So when there are no female venture capitalists, it's really hard to get money for startups. And I think this should be involved also as a next step, which is important. I don't have a solution for that at the moment, but I think it's necessary to think about. I want to skip that. I want to go to a next step here, because I think invention is one point, but that it really become an innovation, it has to be accepted by the society. And this is the picture we have in Germany at the moment. We have this great research done by industry and the scientific community, for example, for these renewable energies. And now we are at the starting point of the debate with the society. And what you see here are the windmills they want to build in Germany for this renewable energy concepts, but the people don't want them close to their home. And this is a problem. This is really a problem. So we are thinking now again, what kind of technology can we bring into the country? Or, and this I think is another concept, why shouldn't it be possible to involve public much earlier and integrate also public in thinking about what kind of things, what kind of idea, what kind of technology do we need, do we want, and start with a socially shared vision between science and industry. And I think, especially in this communication, it's an important role of science to go into this field. And perhaps we also have to think about, and I know this is a very dangerous field, we have to think about our excellence criteria in research. When it's only publication and only citation and only the grants, perhaps it's also necessary to bring into some indicators like communication with public and also involving different user groups. Perhaps something like this. Just an idea, but perhaps something which can be debated or discussed. So, yeah, now, sorry. So, when we have this problem, and I think we face this all, we don't have so many women researchers in place, but we have men and women as users. It should be possible to involve women also in these user groups in early stages of the innovation process. And what we have done and what we have tried within Fraunhofer is this Discover Markets process I described already yesterday in the afternoon, where we started with thinking about markets and thinking about areas where really technology is needed, and then try to integrate different user groups and then start our research protocol. So this is an integration, an example for a way to integrate public in this whole research process. And this is far away from a company, so this is open for all kind of companies in that process or starting with that process. We have now 4 startup companies and also some interested companies, which are existing one, big one. Sorry, I've skipped quite a lot, and I would like to close with a concluding remark. I think through a common understanding of science as an enabler for a socially shared vision of the future, which include women's perspective and interest, this would be a way which is really of interest, but we have to change a lot, and I think we also have to think about our criteria of science and research, and I think this is an important point too. So I think this is one possibility, but I hope there are further starting points to create the change, and I want to stop with this question.